Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fiume, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the founder of Tapster, Roman Maliszewski, and the VP of Franchise Development, Justin Livingston. Guys, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us on.
Awesome. Roman, first of all, did I get your last name right?
I'm actually pretty impressed. That's a hard one. You did. It's Maliszewski, so you were right there.
All right. I felt the pressure as I'm starting to do the introduction. I'm like, oh no, I didn't ask you before we started recording. That's great. All right, Roman, tell us, what is Tapster?
Sure. Tapster is a tasting room. So basically imagine a bar, like any bar, but in our instance, there's no bartender. You are the bartender. So we have, in any location, it's from 40 to 60 taps. And everything on there is for you to go up and try. So everything from beer, wine, cocktails, kombucha, cold brew coffee, kind of everything you can imagine that you get at a bar or non-alcoholic options. I want people to go up and try and sample by the ounce. So it's just an easy, fun environment for people to explore different drinks. And if you come, a lot of our places have communal seating. So we're really promoting kind of the community and meeting people. Because a lot of the thought is there's no bar, we can't sit at the bar and hang out. We kind of replace that with a lot of communal fun places to sit. And that's kind of the brainchild of this whole thing is bring people together, let them try things by the ounce. So you can go up and try an ounce of this IPA and say, I really don't like that. Move on to the next one. When you find something you like, you pour it a lot. But what we found is a lot of people don't ever pour a full pint here. They're just constantly going around and trying stuff. And even, sure. When I go to locations, I'm always doing the same. Why would I pour a full pint when there's 60 taps to try from? I want to keep trying, maybe 3 ounces, 4 ounces. So that's the basic gist, but it's been a blast. I love it.
Awesome. How'd you come up with this idea?
So I'm from Chicago and I was in ad sales before. So, digital advertising, and I would take a lot of clients out entertaining. So that was kind of my shtick. I was very good at that, which is no surprise why I'm doing this. But in Chicago, there was a bar in River North, which is a neighborhood that had a bunch of booths, maybe 10 booths around the outside. And each booth had like 2 taps in the booth, actually built in, and the lines ran to wherever. So when I would take clients, we'd go there, you give the credit card to the server, and then they'd open those taps. And it was like, it was 2 taps. It was like Bud Light and some horrible tequila. So we would literally sit at this table with these clients on my tab and just it was just dumb. We were just hanging out. We loved it. And they loved it. I thought it was so fun as just it's a process kind of to give us the control and say, okay, cool, you can do that. And so when I was coming up with the idea of wanting to do something like that, I envisioned more of a Tapster model where it's a wall that everybody can go up to versus in the booth. And so then I hunted down the founder of that tech company. It's called Pour My Beer. And luckily they were based outside of Chicago. So I went and met the founder, Josh Goodman, and told him my idea. And at the time I had been transitioning from my ad career to whatever is next. So I had been traveling for a year. So he kind of in his head is like, cool, this guy, sounds, just a dreamer, he basically said. He's like, cool, man, good idea, bro. See you later. And, but as we talked more and more through the lunch, he really realized, I'm serious, I'm going to do this, and I'm really into it. And so not only did he say, yeah, we can do the wall idea, that was the roadmap for his product. So he was moving away from the tables himself and doing that. So it really lined up perfectly for kind of my future and his. And by the end of lunch, he offered me a job working at Pour My Beer, which is a tech company. So I actually worked there for 2 years before I opened Tapster. So I was selling self-pour. I was so in the weeds of this technology and the concept. I just went full steam ahead, which is kind of my life motto anyway. But I was learning so much from these other people who are starting to do self-pour. And it really helped the foundation of what I'm doing now, which is, opening Tapsters as many places as I can.
That's incredible. I mean, you talk about getting from the inside out, learning the business. That's incredible.
Learning as much as I can from everybody else is really what I try to do. So admitting that I don't know everything and trying to learn as much from anybody, from people that work for me, the people like vendors that I partner with, as well as obviously the pour my beer guys. It was super valuable.
That's awesome. All right, Justin, how'd you find this guy? How'd you guys get connected?
Yeah, so I've got a good friend from the industry, Mike, and he and I have a lot of history together, and we had done some projects together. There was a moment we were both in Philadelphia for a really great franchise conference called Springboard, and
Of
Mike
course.
said, meet this guy, Roman, who is like I always mess it up. It's like a friend of a cousin's brother's something. And he goes, I don't know, but he loves beer, and we love beer, so let's go meet this guy at his bar in Philly. So we flew in for the conference. We went and sat there, and I'm all culture, all people. I don't do anything that I can't really enjoy and be passionate about myself. And you hear Roman's story, and we're trying beers, and we're sitting on these swing seats in this really rad bar in downtown Philly, and he's telling his story and his vision, and we kind of talk a little bit about what we do and how we do it. And it was one of those where nothing happened that night, but this seed was planted of like, these are like some good dudes that I love doing good business, fun things with fun people. That's kind of what I'm all about. And this was clearly a fun concept. It's kind of that niche-y. We like this. I mean, I've been in the bar industry for a long time, but this was different. This gave control back to a group of consumers who, even generationally, are demanding more and more control. So I thought, geez, the timing is right. The story is right. It's cool. Maybe it's the sampling talking, but I really like these guys. And then we just kind of said, go learn. Roman went to the conference and it was like probably drinking from a fire hose. And
I bet.
we circled back in the coming weeks and we're just like, I like you and you have something cool. I like you too. We're like, that's the foundation of everything in my world. So it just kind of, we just by happenstance, at least for me anyways, just kind of stumbled upon this guy and sat down. I'm just like, I want to do whatever he's doing. It was awesome.
That's amazing. I mean, there's nothing better than having fun doing what you do. It just it gets you through you through not only the tough times, but it just inspires you and want to grow and help each other. And
Couldn't agree more.
I can tell you guys complement each other for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go back to before franchising though. So Roman, you founded the company in 2017. What was life like when you first opened your first Tapster, just the corporate location?
I mean, surreal is probably the best word. I mean, I'd never been in this industry. I was in advertising. I never even worked in a bar. So in the years leading up to this, when I decided to do it, I started working in different bars. So bars and restaurants. I was a bouncer. I was a bar back. I was a server, trying to get my feet in the door to understand what's going on. So I'd had some background in minimal in different places. But then when we opened, I kind of streamlined all the things I saw in these other operations that were inefficient and tried to make it as smooth as possible, as well as just the self-pour was brand new. We were the first in Chicago to do it, and it was amazing. I mean, to say it lightly. I mean, we had lines out the doors. We were just nonstop written up in Chicago, and it was a blast. I mean, people absolutely loved it. It was fun to see the reaction, to kind of morph the idea. And we had 66 taps at that one. So that's still, I think, one of the largest I've ever done, the first one. And so we had 2 floors of taps, cocktails up at the top, beer down here. It was so fun to see this happen and see the response. It was really uplifting. I mean, for me, it really validated the idea and made me feel proud of what I brought to the city that people actually enjoy. And funny enough, within a month of opening, I started having people ask me if it was a franchise. I mean, almost weekly after that, somebody would be like, hey, is this a franchise? And I didn't know anything about franchising. The only franchise I ever knew was McDonald's. So I'm sitting there in my like super proud moment. I love this place. I put everything where I needed it. And somebody's saying, is this like McDonald's? In my mind, right? And so I'm like super insulted by these people saying, is it a franchise? I'm like, no, it's not a franchise. Like, what are you talking about? Right. Meanwhile, that's a huge compliment now, right? Like now that I look back, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a really great compliment. So like at the time I was super insulted and confused. So then like a year goes by, people still saying this all the time. And I finally was like, okay, I'm going to look into franchising. And I just, in 2018, got the FDD paperwork done and all the filings and, the operations manual, all stuff I didn't know about. And I'm just by myself, right? No organization, no partners. I just did this in 2018 and didn't think anything of it. I was like, cool, I'm franchisable now. What, come on down. Like, we're going to be good. So of course, on the website, there was a link, hey, you can franchise if you want to. So I would get a request a week or something like that. But as you both know very well, most leads are kind of, they fizzle out, or, hey, I want to open a bar for 20 grand. And it's just not realistic. So it kind of just sat there, as I was opening corporate locations. I didn't think much of it. And so Chicago, I opened that first one in 2017. It was crazy. It was great. And then from there, I basically was like, I told my broker, I'm like, keep an eye out for other bars. And there was an empty location next to that first one, connected in the same building. So I was thinking in my mind, we're doing so well. Why don't we expand into that other space and maybe put more games or more taps or something? And my broker said, well, why would you do that? Like, why don't you go to another part of the city? Chicago's huge.
Yeah.
So he found a great location that used to be called the Wrightwood Tap in Lincoln Park in Chicago, which was an institution for like 25 years. Everybody knows it. So he said, they're selling their license and not expensive, and you should give that a try. So signed that one up as a corporate location in 2018, opened up. And again, it was just banging from the beginning. And it was super, super fun. So then about, I don't know, a year later, when we had gotten a ton of press in Chicago national about what was going on, one of my buddies from college who had done really well in Seattle and was almost semi-retired said, I love beer. I'm a huge beer guy. Why don't you come and bring this to Seattle? I'll be your partner. I'll help you out. And let's do it. So literally, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm moving to Seattle, and the best part of this story is we did all this, I flew out there, we looked at locations and found a great one and signed up and got the lease, and we're all excited. And so I'm like saying goodbye to my team, and it's all emotional because I love Chicago and I'm from there. So I get in a car and I drive out to Seattle on, March 5th, 2020. I drove out there. And literally, Seattle was the first part of the pandemic in the U.S. Like, that's where it started in the U.S. So I'm driving out there and I'm taking my time. I mean, stopping with friends. And everywhere I stop, they're like, what? Are you sure you want to go to Seattle? Like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's just a little flu. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Meanwhile, I get to Seattle and it's just like lockdown. Everything's closed. Like, it's the end of the world. And so it put a little slow on our build out. So I moved out there. I literally spent the pandemic in Seattle by myself in an apartment, like not knowing anybody. So it kind of sucked there, but the landlord's amazing. And, we just delayed our opening for, almost a year. Yeah. We opened in 2021, but the landlord was cool. Like, let it slide. We only had like 2 months of no construction. And then I came back and we kind of went after it. But yeah, it was surreal. Like,
so
it was such a crazy thing.
Was the Seattle location a franchise, your first franchise then? Or was it like another company owned?
Yeah, it was I just partnered with him personally.
Right.
And it was another corporate location.
Oh my God. Roman.
Okay. Wild.
You dude, you like living right. Like, something was looking after you. You knew nothing about the bar business. Check. You knew nothing about franchising. Check. Well, most of us don't know anything about franchising when we franchise. Check. Yeah. You knew nothing about going into the Seattle market. You're just like, Seattle sounds great, dude. Let's go do it. And you do it. Like, all three things were like green lights, go, and obviously success. So, man, you've defied you've defied success incredibly well.
Yeah.
So many people have failed with so much more preparation and knowledge than you. And I
Thanks,
give
man.
you incredible amount of credit, man. That's just fascinating. Fascinating.
Thank you.
So let's get into franchising now. So obviously you're getting all these people telling you franchising. I can only imagine, just as an outsider, your branding must have been top notch. It must have felt like something that was bigger than just this one location. And the experience also. And I imagine that kind of goes back to your advertising days, that you understood the importance of branding, right?
Yeah, big time. It's a good point. I never really thought about it. They probably really thought franchise when they saw how like good the logo was and the branding, the coloring, and the experience when you walk in. Like, I was very focused on, we're very friendly. We're the quick to like check you in and get you to your for your taps, and then somebody's at the taps helping you. So it was in hindsight, it was more buttoned up than I imagined for like a new location. So yeah, that's probably why it was. And yes, and my advertising background 100% set me up for this because I understand the importance of like a strong brand with like a strong message and a strong kind of ethos. So yeah, that from the beginning, that was kind of where I was focused.
You did a lot of things right. So all that success, it was not luck. This was really, really well done. Again, I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Let's get a little bit more into franchising the business. So you literally franchised because people wanted to open one. Usually it's, I want to franchise the way to expand my business is generally the way we go. Not people are like banging down the door because they want to own one. So great. So you go ahead and do it. What was the initial expansion strategy? Was it, okay, I'm just going to stay in the Chicago area, and then, well, you went to Seattle. What was the thoughts into expanding?
I wish I had a strategy to share with you.
Again?
There was zero strategy, man. I was just focused on building these out myself, right? I was in Seattle, and then I was about to move to Philadelphia to open another one because I personally wanted to live on the East Coast. My family's out here. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to move there. It's a great market for sports and colleges. So I was like, I'm moving to Seattle, Philly to like open that up. And in the meantime, I get an email from a regular from one of my Chicago locations who was a diehard regular, loved it. And he's like, hey, during the pandemic, I moved back to Cleveland with my wife, where we're from, figuring out what I want to do. I'd love to do Tapster. I heard your franchise. So that's literally how I got the first franchisee. So there's zero strategy. I didn't think about like, I'd like to go on the Midwest or the East Coast. It was like literally same as all the other stuff. It was just kind of like, cool, it happened out, let's roll. Like, not to mention the insanity of like, let's open a franchise location without a team, without anybody to help me. It was just like solo bro opening a franchise for somebody else. So I was just in the weeds with my franchisee. I basically treated it like I'm opening it myself, right? I was just there all the time. I was helping with the build out, the strategy, the kind of go to market, like everything. I was kind of did it as if it was myself. And that naively kind of thought that's what franchising was. Cool. I'll just go help these out myself. And so that's how it started. Yeah.
Part of that was the secret to really your success, because you're a dream of a franchisor in that regard, that I buy a franchise and I have the founder with me in the build out and doing everything. Like, talk about truly feeling like you have a partner. I mean, that's really, really uncommon. And so tell the audience, first of all, how many franchises and company owned locations do you have, and where are they?
Sure. So there's currently 4 corporate locations. So Chicago, Seattle, Bellevue, which is across from Seattle, and then Philadelphia. So those are the 4. And then the franchise locations are the Cleveland one that I mentioned, and then Lexington, Kentucky, which again just fits all into this whole thing. So when I moved to Seattle to open that location, one of my buddies said, hey, you got to meet my friend. He lives in Seattle. He's a doctor. He's a great guy. You guys will hit it off, you know. And so I was like, okay, cool. So we met up and obviously hit it off. Like, he's one of my best friends now. So we're in Seattle just having a great time. He's coming to Tapster all the time, loves Tapster. And that one did really, really well. So it had a huge patio overlooking Lake Union. It was a lot of fun. Still is. And so hung out with him a ton, spent holidays with him. I mean, we became really, really good friends. And then I moved to Philadelphia to open this next location. He is a surgeon in Seattle, but gets offered a job in Lexington, Kentucky, right? At a very good hospital. And he moves from Seattle to Lexington, sells his house, buys a new one. But obviously the cost of houses in Seattle and Lexington are dramatic.
Sure.
And so he sells this house and he's got a ton of cash on hand. And he's, of course, the first thing he thinks is like, I love Tapster. I would like a side gig. What do you think about me franchising here? I was like, let's go. Sounds awesome. Like, I can do that too. So of course he signs on. I go out there. I'm helping him out. First off, we like go through the FDD negotiation, right? So I send him the FDD. And the first thing I always tell people is don't just get a regular lawyer to look at the FDD. You need a franchise specific lawyer. Again, this is
absolutely,
you know this, but it's something I had to learn. So I told him like, hey, get a franchise, attorney. He says, funny enough, my stepbrother, that's what he does. So He brings his
Wow.
stepbrother in. We negotiate the whole franchise agreement. Really not much to negotiate. So it's pretty easy. By the end of the agreement, his stepbrother, a guy named Mike Weinberger, reaches out to me directly and says, "Hey, like, I'd like to talk. Like, let's see what's up." And I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. So we talked for a while. He's like, "I love what you're doing. This is a really cool brand. I'd like to get involved. This is what I do for a living." So now him and I kind of court, for a little while. And then we meet at that
Right.
same meeting that Justin just spoke about at Springboard in Philadelphia. And then after that, Mike and Justin and I are now part of this Tapster franchise entity. So it's literally, my life has just been a real fatalistic kind of way. Yeah. And I believe in kind of, if you find what you're really supposed to be doing in this world, and if you have passion behind it and you love it, the universe is going to bring good people towards you and kind of help along the way if you're open to it. So I believe in that. And I think it's happened that way.
I think so. And so, Justin, I guess it's no surprise on, really what drew you to Roman and the brand. Tell me what is it like now as the VP of Fran Dev for this company and somebody that's so gung ho like Roman as a founder?
Yeah, it's just a dream story. I mean, in the end, if you're really good at Fran Dev, and when I say good, we're not almost selling anybody anything. We're talking about being storytellers and brand protectors, and I and my team have been doing that for 20 years. And so when you meet a story like Roman, and you know that there is that partnership. And one of the things that he said that I think is really important for us too is you get these people who franchise this idea, or I had a store and it kind of worked, and why did it work? Well, I don't know, it just did. Well, that's not good enough to franchise. But when you have somebody who's like, I worked for Pour My Beer, and then I was a bar back, and then I was a bartender, and then I was a bouncer, and then somebody who's so all in, so burn the boats, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is going to be my life, and then so genuinely and authentically cares about people enough to want to set them up for success, then we meet, and I know what I do. I know the storytelling that I do, and that's all I do is I tell people's story in a way, and I learn people's story and listen a lot, and then kind of match people who should be together. This story is easy. Roman is amazing. The brand is amazing. It's unique. It's different. It checks all the boxes. And as you sit there, you can kind of feel the community aspect, and community is something that's really important to me personally, and that kind of culture and brand, and how can we impact lives and leave legacies and impact communities. And as I'm sitting in this awesome bar full of people laughing and enjoying each other and trying new things and having this amazing experiential night, and then I'm hearing Roman's background and story and his kind of all in and that kind of mentality that I share with him, I'm like, this is, as Roman said, if you're just open to it and you just listen, the universe goes, here, you should do this together. And that's exactly what we did. And now we're out telling the story and finding people who that story resonates with, and very intentionally and cautiously building our franchise family full of people who are cut from that same cloth, not the same,
Right.
have that same baseline, those same fundamental compasses that just say, we're going to do the right things for the right reasons, and we're going to have a good time doing it.
As I hear you really sharing the story, I'm thinking about how on the outside, somebody could say, oh, Justin, you got such an easy job because everybody's going to want a Tapster. But actually, you have a really tough job, and that is protecting the brand. You are at you're protecting the fortress, right? And making sure only the right people come in, because it's Tapster, it's a bar, it's fun. It just sounds like it's like a dream business for people. What do you look for to making sure you're bringing the right person in for the right reasons?
Yeah, it's interesting. This emerging space I love it. I'm a builder, and I love being in these early days. And one of the things that's so fundamental about getting to unit number 10 and 20 and 100 and so on is those first 5, and then the next 5, and then the next 5. And we don't sit on meetings projecting, all right, we're going to do 100 deals. We don't say the D word. We talk about, like, let's go find some really good, authentically connected people. And to your point, we are the brand protectors. We are the ones, we get on calls, and it's less about who's coming on. It's partly who's coming on, and it's more like, listen to the people I turned away. Listen to the people we're not letting in, because we're the cool kids table, man. Like, I don't have to tell you. Like, you don't fit. Sorry.
Right.
And if we do that, people either go away, and that makes them mad, and that's okay, or they then spend the rest of time trying to convince us that they are the right fit. And that makes a really good franchisee, right?
Sure.
And so we are very protective of that. And our first franchisees, and then everyone thereafter, will have that same level of protection. And honestly, after 20 years, it's a lot of gut, Frank. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but
no, I get it.
You talk to somebody, just like I had the same conversation with Roman and Mike and I, 15 years ago, where you just sit at the table with somebody, you look them in the eye and go, yep, you passed the test. What's the test? I don't know. Like, it's the finger in the wind. It's just you feel it. And either you can read people or you can't. And then we make people do a lot of homework, and we answer a lot of questions and are mutually accountable to get to a decision. But in the end, we have to really believe that they're going to be good stewards of our brand and that we can set them up to be successful, whatever their definition of success is. And they have to believe the same with us. That if we can get to that point before the marriage, it's such a cool journey that we go on together.
Yeah. Justin, what do you think it really takes for a franchisee to be successful? What are some of those attributes that they're going to need to do to make this thing really go?
Ultimately, I think, we're going to give you the roadmap and sit shotgun. Your commitment is follow the map. That's it. And that's not unique to Tapster. Tapster's a really good map. But in franchising, the people who are less successful or who don't make it, almost all the time, they just didn't follow the recipe. Like, why are you buying the recipe if you're not willing to fully commit to it? And so for us, we've got a really good roadmap. And again, it's not just here's the map, go, bon voyage. It is we're going to sit shotgun. We're going to take this journey with you, especially at our life cycle. As Roman said, he's out. I mean, Roman missed a call with me a couple of weeks ago because he was hanging wallpaper in Lexington. Like, that's amazing. What a founder. What a franchisor, right? He's literally, and then he's sending us pictures because he's very proud of this really cool wallpaper. Like, it's so involved, and this relationship is so intimate and it's so personal. And if you don't believe that we've got that roadmap, don't get in a car. That's it. But if you get in the car, I mean, we go pedal down together, and you really just have to go turn by turn by turn, and we're going to help you get to whatever that destination is for you and your definition of success. But we're going to do it on a very specific path that we agree on way before we commit to each other, right? And so we are just super transparent. We're truth tellers. We lay it all out there, and either you love us or you don't. And honestly, we don't really care either way. But if you do love us, we'll love you back, and then we'll go on this journey together. And I think that sets people up for success.
What does it cost to open one of these?
Depends. There's such a variation depending on the market. I think you probably can't do this for less than 600, and I think you probably shouldn't do this for more than 1.2. So, Roman, maybe you can argue those numbers, but I think that's kind of the sweet spot that we talk about because there's TI money and different markets. We talk about opening in Lexington versus opening in Seattle and Philly and downtown Chicago. We got somebody looking on Long Island right now and here in Denver, which is very expensive. So, here in Denver, we're not going to probably open for 600 as where we can potentially in other markets, but that's kind of the range.
Hey, Roman, question for you. What's the average footprint size that you look for in a location?
Sure. I'd say the sweet spot is around 3,000 square feet. I think that's ideal. We can go as high as 4,000, probably as low as 2,500 square feet. That's kind of the ideal, but also with a real focus on patio space, so outdoor space. I think you're missing a huge opportunity in the summer months, spring and fall even, when people want to hang out outside and have drinks and talk. So that's a key component too.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about a little bit about the future here. Where do you guys see this company going next 5-10 years?
I mean, I'm an optimistic guy and I'm aggressive. So I'd say, I want this to grow as much as possible and be in as many states as possible in the U.S. I really want Tapster to become known nationally as a place that you look for in any city you're at, because you can go there and try all the best beers locally, all the best kombuchas locally, all the best, any drink you can imagine. I can go there first. And then maybe after there, I go to the brewery that I liked. Or I go to the, what a cidery, whatever it is. That's really what I'm aiming for. So it's not as much a number, although of course everybody's got a number and they want to have 100 locations or whatever it is, right? I'm more focused on getting the identity correct and getting people to understand this is what we're about. Hey, cool. Tapster's where you go to try all the best local drinks. Like, that's it. And then after that, I can go explore more. And we're really hyper focused on supporting local here too. So we want all local beers. We want all local drinks. That's a big deal for me. So of course we want to open ones in as many other markets as possible. So in the near term, we've signed on Colorado. So in Denver, we have a franchisee ready to go. And then Long Island as well. So not too far out on Long Island, but there. So those two are the next franchisee locations. And then I'm working on other locations. I know Justin's working on a ton. So we're really full steam ahead on trying to expand that brand.
Cool. I like that you didn't put a number to it, that you're not, having commit, like I need to open 100 in 5 years or something like that, that you're doing this more organically. Roman, from a founder to founder, and there's so many emerging franchisors that are watching the podcast and listen to it that are currently the ones doing their own Fran Dev. I would love for you to share with the audience, because you were obviously very passionate starting the business, you still are, but you handed over the reins of Fran Dev, which was so critical because you can't do everything. Would you be willing to share sort of what you went through in that process where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I got to bring somebody in, and bringing somebody like Justin in with incredible experience?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. It wasn't easy to start with, right? Because you're like, hey, nobody can talk about the brand like I can. Nobody can sell it like I can. So it really took a lot of trust, finding the right person, right? Which kind of organically, naturally happened for me. But then really spending time with Justin and having him go to locations, see them, as well as just constantly talking to me, have me pitch him on the brand, have him role play as a potential franchisee. This is what I would do. Like, okay, ask these questions. Getting the names right. Like, we refer to things specifically here. I'm very specific about how we talk about guests. They're not customers. I don't talk about employees, their team members, little things like that are really important to me. I can't let that go. I can't let that get lost with somebody else who's just selling something to try to get a number. Obviously, it's a business. Obviously, Justin wants to make money. But at the same time, he has to respect the integrity behind the brand. And so finding somebody who gets you and your brand, I think, is the most important. And obviously somebody you get along with. Like, me and Justin are already boys now. Like, we have good banter. We enjoy our company, and we can just talk naturally. You don't want it to feel forced. I'm a very anti-corporate person. I never want us to get to that place, although maybe we will at some point. But I want it to be just a comfortable interaction. But somebody who understands your passion, understands your brand, and can deliver as close as possible to what you would sell yourself. And I think even after that, after you find that person, after you've gone through all that, as you move forward, it's really staying in constant communication. Justin and I have a call every week. We have multiple calls actually with other people. But the important part is like just an ongoing dialogue of like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what people are saying. Here's what we need to work on. Because there's stuff that I don't know, that I have no knowledge of how to pitch things, that Justin comes to me and says, hey, dude, like, we got to be quicker with this. We got to get these things to them faster, or we're going to lose them. And so it's important. It's a learning curve. And as I've always done in my career and anywhere, find somebody who's smarter than you. Find somebody who's done this, who knows how to do it, that you respect. And that's going to be your partner. So I think that's a huge part. And I really have a lot of respect for Justin, what he's done and what he's doing.
That makes a lot of sense. And thanks for sharing that and just being so transparent. I know other founders need to hear that. Justin, on the other side, though, coming from your perspective, it had to be a little bit scary knowing you're coming into a brand that, despite all the excitement, a founder that is so heavily involved, like, is he really going to let go and let me do what needs to be done, right? I mean, anybody, I would think that going in. What were some of the challenges that you thought? I think it's just equally as important for people to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Living in this emerging space, founders are the make it or break it. I mean, we've all seen, I'm sure, founders that they can't let go and they kill the business, and you can't franchise it because I can't replicate Roman, right? We can't. And I will never tell the story as well as Roman tells the story, but it's close, and it's close because of the things that Roman said, which, by the way, thank you for the kind words. But when you have a founder that you connect with on a cultural and a personal and a really intimate level, there are lots of Fran Dev guys out there, lots of Fran Dev companies that'll be like, all right, Roman, I'll get you 100 deals, and like, gross. Like
Right.
I never have uttered those words ever to anybody ever. And I never will, because what I say is we're going to go find the right people. Maybe it's one, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000. I can't care and you can't care about that. What we can care about is committing to a relationship full of mutual respect, where I respect what you know, you respect what I know. We both respect the fact that we have control issues probably, and that we can just coexist because our goals are so well aligned. And if you can find that relationship between a founder and somebody who does what we do, which is build brands, I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. And we've all seen it go sideways because people can't let go, or they think they're the smartest guy in the room. And you got to know what you know and be confident in that, but you got to know what you don't know and find people. Roman said it best, if you're the smartest guy at the table, you're at the wrong dang table.
Yeah.
I think most founders don't get that, or
I
they
think you're
say
right.
it, but then they don't act on it because they go, well, I'll do it better. It's like, you're not going to do it better. Just like I can't do what you do. Let's partner in this relationship to go change some lives. And if you can really get that kind of buy-in, which is what Roman and I have, and it's so appreciated, it's not to sound corny, but it's really kind of a beautiful thing, because then you can build in an authentic way that just focuses on changing lives and communities. And who wants to do anything other than that? It's such a blessing.
I've been around franchising for, over 20 years. And I just got to tell you that I don't say this often on a podcast, if at all, but I really believe you guys have an it factor. There's a magic in the chemistry that it just comes across loud and clear to me that I think just works. It just works. Justin, why now is a great time for somebody to join your franchise system?
Yeah. People are searching, we're in a weird moment in time. Right? We're in this like never ending cycle of chaos that started probably a year and a half ago and continues today. And so we're in this weird spot where things are expensive and rates are high and uncertainty is high and consumer confidence is low. And so a lot of people right now are just on pause. I get it. The reality is this: while most people are on pause, the sprinters are sprinting now, right now, and they're making good decisions. And by the time everybody else gets comfortable, which, by the way, doesn't come for most people, because there'll always be something. There's always some cyclical thing, and people go, well, now I'm going to wait, whether it's politics or environment, or it doesn't matter what it is. It could be family. It's like, when's the right time to have a kid? Never. And today and yesterday, right? The answer is the movers are moving right now, and we're looking for unique, interesting concepts because consumers are craving an experience now. You can't just be a bar anymore. That waved by a long time ago. You have to be something, whether that's connected to a sport or connected to a game or connected to a community or connected to self-pour, whatever it is, there has to be something more than just your local dive. And I love a local dive, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough anymore, especially with these upcoming generations. It's not even close to enough. There must be a customer experience. And I can't think of a better customer experience than to come into a really cool environment that's community focused and then give you the keys. You're in control. Drink a little, drink a lot, try a few things, have your favorite pint, go non-alcoholic, go there with your friends who are like, oh, I don't really drink, or it's dry January. Cool. There's great out. That's a whole wall here. I was just at the Seattle and we went around the corner and he goes, this whole section of the wall is NA. That's great. Not because NA is a huge section of the business, but because the NA guys can go with their 7 buddies who are drinking.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's just something for everybody, whether you're a massive extrovert and you want to go and meet everybody, or you're there on your laptop and you just want to kind of enjoy a safe, cool environment to get some work done and bang things out. It's just kind of something for everybody. If there's ever been a time for that, it's right now.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I forgot to ask, actually, Roman, I forgot to ask you this early on, but with the self-serve or the self-pour, how do we prevent this from going all wrong? If you know what I mean.
Of course. Yeah. No, I get that question all the time. So the system that we work with, Pour My Beer, has safeguards in place. So it's obviously counting the ounces that you're drinking. It's also taking into account the ABV of each ounce. So after a certain amount of ounces per that ABV, it cuts you off. So the card doesn't work anymore. So it's an RFID based card. That card, as you tap to get more, will say, please see one of our staff to get reactivated. So it's a reactivation is what we call it process. So after 2 servings is when it stops everybody. So just like a bartender in most states, a bartender is only allowed to serve one person 2 drinks. We replicate that with the tap system, where after 2 servings, then it stops. And there's always somebody nearby at the wall to reactivate you right there, and you go for 2 more. But I argue that that's even a better safeguard than a regular bartender, because a regular bartender is making cocktails. They're cleaning glassware. They're doing all this stuff. And then somebody comes up who might be overserved already, but they don't have time to think about it and analyze. Whereas our team, they're not serving anything. They're just there to talk to people, interact with the wall. They have all their focus on this one person who comes up and says, I'm reactivated, or I'm reactivated.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they can kind of tell, and they have time to be like, let me grab your card. Let me grab your card to reactivate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold on to it for a sec. Let me grab you a water. Let's take it easy, stuff like that. So
Right.
it's important to me. I'm not trying to build a culture of people here getting hammered. That's not my vibe. That's not Tapster at all.
Right.
I want people to enjoy their time, to meet people, and enjoy a bunch of different drinks. So it really, luckily, or maybe not luck, that's not our vibe. People don't come in here to go ham and then leave. They're really
Right.
hanging out for like hours. We have a bunch of board games. People are playing. We have trivia. We have, bingo. We have a ton of fun stuff that people just want to come and hang out. Luckily, or by plan, I don't know these days, it's worked out that that's not the style.
That makes sense. Well, the technology in itself is much better than just the human aspect of just walking to a bar. So there's actually, I agree with you. I think the safeguards are even better this way.
Agreed.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, if someone was interested in learning more about opening, where would they go?
Yeah, I think there's so much opportunity to learn on the social media platforms and the website, to just kind of see a little bit more as a glimpse into who we are. And then it's just about calling us. We have Angie is the first person that you talk to on the Fran Dev team, and she's just, again, such a storyteller and safeguard person to kind of go, you have to pass Angie. We always talk about, getting through Angie. If you can get through Angie to get to me, then you've already passed. You've checked many boxes, because she's tough. She's the ultimate brand protector. And so you get on, you learn, you get through Angie, you get to me, and then we just kind of go on this mutual journey together where we learn. I always equate it to the dating before the I do, but like real dating, like with tough conversations. And, we're really going to learn about each other, and I'm going to challenge you, and you're going to challenge me, and we're going to do all the legal stuff, and that's fine. But really, that's the foundation that we then build your dream upon. And then we get to the altar, and, if we're in love, great. If we're better off as friends, great. And that's kind of the process. And people get through that in a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months, but it's really about making that decision. Now you've talked to me, you've checked all the boxes. We really like each other. Now I send you to Roman. Roman meets you in person, looks you in the eye, and then we meet the team, and you hear about that depth of bench of support. And then and only then do we all go, yes? Okay, now we start signing franchise agreements.
And what's the website for people to learn more about the business?
Tapster.com and tapstertastingroom.com.
Excellent. All right, I got one last question for both of you guys. So I always finish every podcast with the franchise tip jar. I mean, you guys learned this going to Springboard, right? The franchise community is just so generous with sharing. So I'm hoping you guys can help me with this one. Guys, what do you think is probably one of the most underrated skills a franchisor needs that maybe even most people don't even talk about?
I'll tell you, in my experience, it's not a skill set. It's authenticity. I wish you see concepts that come up and people are franchising an idea or a theory. I wish that it was illegal. I wish that didn't exist in franchising. If you don't have the moxie and the money to taste it and do it and try it yourself, you have no business trying with other people's money. That's my opinion. And so
Good point.
I think if you come at this with a proven concept that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears in, and you've invested in, and you've proven that concept up enough that you can look somebody in the eye authentically and genuinely and say, I understand you're rolling over your retirement, or you're putting your kids' college fund into this. If that doesn't keep you up at night, you have no business being a franchisor.
Yeah, a kind of similar path, but I would just say empathy, like having a ton of empathy for who you're dealing with. I think maybe a fair amount of founders just have a number game, right? I want to get to this many locations. I don't care who they are. I just want them in the funnel, and let's get them going, train them. Who cares? Like, let's go. For me, and what I hope is going to be successful for us, is caring about these people. Like Justin just said, it's a huge responsibility to do this. And you got to take pride in that and respect what they're putting in. And then, I've been through this. I've done all these openings, sharing with them that I get what they're going through, that it's not like, oh, well, you just do this, deal with that. Like, no, it's frustrating. It can be hard at times. And if you're there in their corner and really prove to them, I care about you as a person, as well as somebody I'm working with, I think it's going to be a lot more successful. I mean, everything else has to be dialed in, right? Your model and all that. But aside from that, that's baseline. Aside from that, showing concern for the people you're working with, less than make them feel like a number and part of your cog, I think is really key.
I love it, man. I am so optimistic about franchising the more I talk to founders such as yourself, because empathy actually has come up a number of times with people, and you wouldn't think that would be the go-to that a founder would normally think, but it is absolutely the skill set that you need. And most people don't recognize, they don't think of these franchise owners, they're franchisees, but they're franchise partners. Like, you're only going to succeed if they do well, and they're human beings. And most, I don't know for you guys, but most of my franchisees, it was the first time they had ever owned a business, which also, that was a surprise to me. I didn't know that going into it. Yeah. But it made me realize that these people's lives are in your hands. Like, you have got to help them. And in more times than not, you're business coaching and even personal and family coaching at times. This is a marriage. So thank you so much for bringing it up, guys. I am super excited about Tapster. I know you guys are going to kill it. Roman, everything you freaking touch seems to work. So I'm not surprised. Anybody could open up 6 locations in 5 states and you're just doing it, guys. I love it. I'm so glad our paths crossed, and I wish you guys all the continued success.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.